JC Newman Cigar Studio in Boston, Massachusetts, and the Gurkha Cigar Studio in beautiful British Columbia. Welcome to the Smokin Tobacco Show with your hosts, Matt Tobacco and Mitchell Santaga.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Smokin Tobacco Show. My name is Matt Tobacco from SmokinTobacco.com. I am broadcasting live from the JC Newman Cigar Studios in Boston, Massachusetts. And I am joined once again by my very good friend, Mr. Mitchell Santaga, also of SmokinTobacco.com, in the Gurkha Cigar Studios. He's got that red going, and we continue the streak. I have to get a graphic for the screen for the video portion of the show. And then maybe I'll create something for the description for our audio listeners. But I have to create like a tally list of like consecutive shows that you have the BDR.
Yeah.
There's just gonna be like a little thing that's always there, and it's like days since Mitchell did not wear the BDR, and
unfortunately, well, I'll have to bring it back occasionally, but unfortunately, after the trade show, it'll probably be Smokin Tobacco gear moving forward.
Yeah, that's true.
But you know, every once in a while, I might have to sneak it in there for old time's sake. But
that becomes
I think
that becomes like the like one of those you know when like teams do like the commemorative jerseys, like for special nights. That's a special night, so I had to put the BDR on.
Yep, and who knows? Maybe one day he'll be on the show.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, it wouldn't be the first time we've had a musical performer on our show. We have some exciting guests coming up, actually. It's a little out of the way, so I don't want to see, like Coop and my wife will tell you, it's hard for me to keep secrets in, especially when I'm excited to see people's reaction. Or you know, like with gifts mostly, because you're like, oh, I know she's gonna love this, or like, oh, I know he's gonna love this, like, and for me, it's like I just can't wait to see what they think. And there's nothing worse than when they're like, oh yeah, and you're like, fuck, all that excitement, I don't even want it. But no, I mean we have some surprise people coming up on the show later this summer. Let's see, without saying too much, because I you know. Coop's always about, you know, rumor-free, teaser-free. I love to tease, and I think secretly it bothers him because he hates the teasers, and he's like, don't tease. But we have a couple of exciting, unique guests coming up on the show, and by that I mean people who are not of the cigar industry at all, just otherwise cigar personnel, people who enjoy the leaf, and one of them is a well-known actor. From a pretty well-known TV show on HBO, like 20 years ago. That's all I can say. I'm just gonna let that lie, but we are very excited about that. We are very excited about that show. It's gonna be a fun one. It's gonna be very different.
Yes.
And then looking down to the end of the year, I have a couple of things I'm working on, a couple of surprises for the end of the year. I can't believe it's already the end of June. Next week we'll be at PCA, which means it's the first week of July. And
we're halfway through the year already.
I know.
I've been on the show for half a year.
Yeah, and it's kind of scary. I'm not gonna lie. It's like, wow, that really went fast.
Didn't I just start yesterday?
I know. It's like, it's crazy. And you know,
it's crazy.
We get to the trade show, which I promised we wouldn't talk too much about the trade show. I know we talked a lot about it the last couple of weeks on the last couple of shows, so I'm trying not to bore people out with it, even though it is a big deal. There's a lot going on. You know, once that's over, then it's like, all right, and there's a little bit of really nothing auxiliary that's exciting, right? You know, the fundraiser that we do is in the beginning of the year. We got the trade show in the middle, and then, you know, like August, September, October, it's just kind of, you know, whatever, and then you get into the holiday season, and then it's the end of the year season, and then there's awards and Cigar of the Year, and all that stuff that we do.
Well, I think I think for the SmokinTobacco.com kind of content-wise, we'll see, I guess, probably August, September, October, November, probably the most amount of reviews that website will ever produce probably in history. Just with all the new releases and then me kind of stocking up on a bunch of cigars, and then Kevin as well will probably, because I know you used to do reviews occasionally before, but between Kevin and I, we'll probably be pumping out hopefully 2 or 3 reviews a month.
Yeah.
And so people can look forward to that, all the new stuff coming out, even some stuff maybe that had been released earlier this year, getting that reviewed. And then, like you said, it's kind of end of the year time.
Yeah, it's like a cycle, and it just goes and over and over and over again. And before you know it, it's like it's the end of the year again. And you're like, oh shit, that was it. That whole year's over. And you look back on all the stuff you did, and you're like, it feels like it was like 3 years, but it goes by so quick. So tonight I wanted to do something a little bit different. I figured we'd do we have no guest. I didn't have a guest scheduled because this was supposed to be a PCA pregame show, but we've already done so much of that, and I had to kind of switch with an earlier show just because of some scheduling conflicts that we ended up really covering that already. Now, there's really not much else to cover. That's like, let's stop and do this for an hour and a half. I mean, yeah, there's some more releases that came out this week. Today, a highlight, Ferio Tego is already shipping, but we'll be highlighting their new Ferio Tego Suma that will be available in 4 sizes, if I remember correctly, at the show, as well as I know Crown Heads has a fresh pack they're coming out with, which is really cool for Juarez. I'm trying to remember what else off the top of my head went up this week. Founder Cigar Co. is going to be rebranding and switching factories. So there's a lot of different things that have been going on. But again, it gets a little redundant, I know, and we have next week to, dump all that out. So I don't want to bury people in it yet.
Yeah.
So I figured, hey, let's do a pairing show. It's just me and you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I know you have several different selections of things that you want to pair with your cigar. I grabbed 3 different things, but they're all bourbon whiskey, because that's just what I'm in the mood for, and it's pretty much what I drink the most of. I'll kind of go a little bit through all of those. I know you have a couple of things. We'll get to that, but first, let's talk about what we are smoking, because it is time once again for our cigars of the evening, brought to you by the number 2 guyscigars.com. That's right, the number 2 guyscigars.com. I know for a fact that the 2guyscigars.com has both of these cigars that we're smoking tonight in stock, but they also have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other cigars and cigar accessories that you know and love, and maybe some new ones that you maybe haven't heard of that you should definitely give a try, because that's what we're all about here, trying new stuff. At the number 2 guyscigars.com. Mitchell, what are you smoking tonight?
So I decided to light up a Foundation Tabernacle, just a standard. I think this is the Corona, I want to say.
Okay, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, a little bit smaller Vitola, but yeah, this is just the standard Tabernacle, the broadleaf. I love this cigar, and I love pairing with broadleaf. I find it's a great wrapper that can withstand a lot of bolder flavors and doesn't get overpowered. But yeah, I can kind of get on to.
I agree, and it's another reason why that's one of my favorite wrappers. In addition to how much I just enjoy the flavor of it, you're right. It's easy to pair with a lot of different things, and I don't do a lot of personal pairings. I mean, when I smoke a cigar, for the most part, I pretty much focus on the cigar. That's me. Honestly, my favorite thing to have with a cigar is ice water. Just on a regular day, there's no show, there's no people. I'm just out here by myself, just doing things and have a cigar. Just ice water, man. That's no BS. That's my favorite thing. I know some people will mock me, but whatever. But there are those occasions when you're like, hey, like I want to have a drink too. And in those occasions, obviously, I have a few favorites. Tonight, I kind of went a little simple-ish. I grabbed a All Saints Habano, Dedicación Habano Churchill, which is one of my favorite cigars. One of my favorite sizes. I really like the Churchills that are coming out of All Saints. The soft box press to them. But I grabbed this cigar because it's a cigar I really enjoy. It has some good flavor, but it's not too overpowering. And it goes well, at least for my palate, it goes well with the 3 whiskeys that I actually have lined up to share with you tonight. They're 3 of my favorites. 2 of them are kind of regulars. One of them is more of a special occasion bourbon, but I do enjoy it with this cigar. We are also, before I forget, we're also using our Cigar Blondie cutter and lighter from Cigar Blondie, featuring the slim, flat blade lighter and the double guillotine cutter, always sharp cutter, perfect cut cutter. These are available in 3 finishes, chrome, black, and white, and only available at cigarblondie.com. So, Mitchell, why don't you tell us about the lineup that you have for stuff?
Okay, so I brought a lot of things. A funny thing about me is whenever I smoke casually, I usually have about 4 drinks with me.
Okay.
I usually have water, not always iced, but it is a little bit warmer of a day today, so I have it iced. It's almost 80 degrees. I usually will have some form of sugary-esque drink, whether it's like just even a basic juice. But I really love Fentimans. They use really, really nice, high-quality botanicals to brew their stuff. It is a bit more expensive, but I find the depth of flavor on these, and this is the cola. They offer a lot of different ones. I will often pair it with the ginger beer.
And they make a root beer too that you really
They
like?
do a root beer. They do, I think, I don't know if did they do a cream soda? I think they might do a cream soda as well, but I think they've got about 4 or 5 offerings. But I'd say the cola and the ginger beer are my 2 that I will often grab. And then I will also, I really enjoy pairing with beers as well. So I'll usually grab some form of craft beer. I don't have a beer with me today. And then some form of spirit. So usually whiskey, but occasionally I have dabbled in other spirits. Today, in terms of like the cigar, I always like to go with a cigar I kind of know, right? Like I said, I've smoked lots of these tabernacles, but I kind of like to push the boundaries of the other things I pair with when I'm specifically pairing. If it's just like I'm going out for a smoke, I'll grab something I really like. And I find that in the industry, this kind of whiskey doesn't get its, I don't know, just desserts or its accreditation. I think it's one of the best out there, and it's Irish whiskey. And to me, it goes really, really, really well with cigars, mainly because it's
a lot sweeter, generally.
Yeah, it's generally sweeter. It's, I guess you could call it quote unquote smoother, but it offers this depth to the flavor profile that sometimes cigars don't necessarily have. Like it's just got this really nice yeasty bready quality that I find, unless you're in some really like danky, funky Dominican or Honduran stuff, I find it really rounds out the flavor experience. And it generally isn't too spicy or too harsh on the palate. So for me, I grabbed Redbreast 12. I love Redbreast, one of my favorite Irish whiskeys. But if you want something with a little bit more punch to it, I find Writer's Tears has a little more kick from an Irish. But Redbreast is just that classic run-of-the-mill whiskey. I also brought...
Sorry, I was going to say, Redbreast is one that I hear a lot of people talking about. When you get into the conversation of Irish whiskey,
yeah,
that's one that I hear a lot about. I think I've had it once or twice, but I know people who that's like a that's
it's
like
a
mainstay. Yeah,
it's a staple for me. It's always on the shelf for me. I love it. I actually, so before I kind of like dove into cigars, well, I'd say actually while I was diving into cigars, I dove pretty deep into whiskeys and actually ran my own like whiskey group and did local pairings. And one of the whiskeys that I got to try that was really, really good was Redbreast 21. So I actually did a blind flight tasting with Redbreast 12, 15, and 21 all side by side.
Yeah.
That was an amazing experience, being able to look at the color, check out the flavor profiles, and unanimously within the group, almost actually, I think every single person picked out Redbreast 12 and said it was by far the best one. So sometimes age statement does make it better. And again, these were fully blind. People had no idea what they were going into besides the fact they knew it was Redbreast. It's, if you get a chance to try Redbreast 21, it's definitely a treat. But yeah.
No, go ahead.
The other things, I occasionally like to pair with food. So I like to do salamis and cured meats and a lot of cheeses. But today, just because I had them on hand, I brought a couple different chocolates, usually dark chocolates. Again, very similar with like coffee. I find things that have, things that are born from the earth, right? You have cocoa beans and coffee uh, and tobacco leaf, all kind of born from the soil and very, they're harvested and then fermented and then processed into a simple thing. A lot of these chocolate bars are single origin chocolate bars, high percentage, even some of them with no sugar even added at all. So I find those flavors really complement well with cigars as well. So I brought some chocolates that I'll kind of show a little bit later once we kind of dive into that if we got some time.
Yeah, no, we definitely will. I brought with me, and I guess we can get started. I mean, clock's ticking, right? We're already 22 minutes in. I
There you
brought
go.
with me a couple of bourbons, like I said. The first one is this is actually last year's 4th of July special edition. Last year's. Not that the whiskey's the same; it's just the bottles, really. But Smoke Wagon Bourbon. This is the small batch. This is a distillery based in Las Vegas. So this particular bottle, I think, was actually gifted to me by Kevin, who lives in Las Vegas. And so usually when I'm in town, I grab some, and he helps me grab some. Being a local, it always helps. It always helps to have locals around in certain cities. But yeah, so there's only a little bit more of this left, so I figured I'd finish this because I'm probably gonna bring some more home next week. So I also have with me. I'm gonna do that one last. I also have with me the E.H. Taylor, the small batch,
Oh, I love that.
which is great because to me
I have a bottle.
this is a sweet whiskey in my opinion. It's a very sweet, sugary notes on the nose, especially it's one of those I call it like bananas or like a bananas foster or like a caramelized banana when you really get them into that brown sauce, and they've been warmed and you get that smell, maybe a little bit of cinnamon. I get that on the nose every time. So I love this one. That's why I picked that one. The Smoke Wagon is a good small batch bourbon, not too hot. I believe it's 92. The E.H. Taylor is, I want to say 100 because this is a bottled in bond. Yep, it's 100. And then to round it out, I have with me a Blanton's Gold because why not? No, this is a fun bottle. Blanton's is one that I've always really enjoyed. It's a nice basic bourbon, depending on who you ask. I mean, that's kind of my opinion of it. I
Yep.
know people go crazy for it, but to me, its profile, it's a good whiskey, but it's not in terms of just getting it. More so the actual whiskey and when you drink it, how it tastes fancy or special. Um, it's a good drinker. The gold, a little bit hotter, obviously, a little more strength. I believe this is 103 proof. So this is going to be our strongest whiskey of the night. But I wanted to have some of this as well, so I grabbed this bottle. I recently acquired another one, so I figured, hey, let's drink this one since it's open. And those are my bourbons for the night. So, and my camera's out of focus, which kind of sucks. So while I fix that, Mitchell, why don't you get us started on the first thing you're going to pair your cigar with?
Yeah. So again, obviously, a little bit more whiskey focused, and like I said, I'm doing the red breast for my whiskey,
There you go.
and the reason, like I said before, so in terms of going towards pairings, you're looking for something that's either complementary or more like similar. Like you're looking for something that's going to have opposite flavor profiles that fill in the possible entire flavor spectrum, or you're going to look for something that is maybe a similar flavor profile that elevate those flavor profiles that are already there, right? So at least that's how I approach it. Now, the other thing that I think a lot of people sometimes miss with pairings, especially with cigars, is pairing up the perceived strength, right? So if you say have some of your whiskeys there that are maybe a little hotter and you pair it with something that maybe isn't as strong, the flavor profiles might match up, but the whiskey might overpower the cigar. And even if the flavors match up or they're good flavors that should work together, it will overrun and just totally mow down the cigar. So
Yeah,
whenever approaching a pairing,
it's gonna be the perfect
I-
balance.
yeah, it's always a fine line of finding that like strength relevance, right? Like you don't want the cigar just overpowering the whole profile, and you don't want the drink or food to be overpowering the whole profile, because even if the flavors are good, you're not going to be able to pull out anything better, right? And with a pairing, you're trying to elevate the entire experience, right? So at least that's how I look at it. But yeah, in terms of what I get off of Redbreast, I love nosing whiskey. It's probably one of the best things, but I get some of that cherry sweetness and a little bit of that bready yeasty on the palate. Like I said, it's very viscous, mouth coating, and I get a little more of that honey type sweetness with still that nice bread, yeast, little bit of spice in the background as well on the palate.
Yeah, this is a sweet whiskey too for a bourbon.
Would you
I,
start with E.H. Taylor?
no, I started with the smoke wagon, the small
Hmm.
batch. Definitely different than what you're drinking. I mean, you get Irish whiskey, very strong on the nose. I get I get a cherry. I get a little bit of cinnamon. Um, there's a sweetness there though. It's not the cherry though. Almost like a no, maybe almost like a brown, like a toasted brown sugar.
Yeah, nice. I
You know
like
what I'm
that.
saying?
For
Like
sure.
when it's on like a coffee cake or like a some kind of apple crumble and it gets warm
Hmm.
and baked and it lets off that sweetness.
Now with the cigar,
Mm.
again, also pairing, you can kind of go back and forth. You can try drinking first and then puffing on the cigar. Try puffing first, then drinking the bourbon. See how they change each other. Does it elevate the drink? Does it elevate the cigar? I'm finding when I drink first and take a puff, I'm definitely reaching in and getting a little bit more of the woody profile from the Tabernacle, some of that leather, and I'd say I always get like a nice kind of like raw coffee bean from Tabernacle, and I'd say it really elevates that specific note when I pair it with this whiskey particularly. So
Mm.
it's a really nice pairing.
This is delicious. Definitely more cherry, but not just any cherry. Almost like the you ever had the Luxardo cherries and
I
the
was gonna
syrup?
say you're probably gonna pull out the Luxardo, $50 a piece cherry or whatever they are.
Like on the finish. Like it's very thick, very sweet, caramelized, syrupy, like on the flavor. Up front it's a little hot, but then it cools off and it has this sweetness that's like right underneath. And it's a really nice touch. It's really nice. Especially I've already been smoking this cigar, so I already have that cigar, the smoke. I have that flavor on my palate already. You know,
Yeah.
like already full in force. I had some water before to just kind of give it a quick rinse and then, bring the cigar back and then right to that. Oh man, that's delicious. Which
Yeah.
I usually drink all of these straight. I don't mix these ones. So it's
Yeah.
not like it's, like Maker's Mark or, I don't really drink Jack Daniels. Like Evan Williams, those are those are
Have,
whiskeys that I'd probably and bourbons that I would mix with something.
yeah.
So you don't really have that element either. There's no mixer element to any of these. These are all straight. I normally drink them straight. Neat. Usually not on the rocks. So very familiar with how they are as is right now too. And man, just I actually haven't had that in a while. I forgot how good that is. Um, I
I
definitely
love
drink.
that. I love when you've got a bottle on your shelf and you haven't gone back to it in a while, and you just like have that first few sips and you're like, Oh yeah, that's the
Yeah.
stuff I've been missing in my life. It's it's good. I always do. E.H. Taylor is a bottle that I have that's a little bit harder to get up here, so I tend to
It's harder
not
to get
go
here
to it.
too.
I tend not to go to it often, but every time I always have that. I feel like I always have that feeling of like, oh yeah, this is really good. It yeah, it's such a good. I wish I could get my hands on some of like the single barrel stuff, and what was didn't they have like some special like wedding E.H. Taylor?
Oh no,
I forget what was it.
the 18-year marriage.
Yeah, that one. We actually had a chance in BC to get a bottle. I think they only brought like 6 bottles in or something like that.
Yeah.
But I didn't win the lottery, so I didn't get the chance to buy it.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, but
No, E.H. Taylor comes in the small batch, the rye, single barrel. It comes in the barrel proof, and then those are like the pretty much the main um, the varieties. But they also have the 18-year marriage, and then there's the Warehouse C,
yes, the warehouse.
um,
Yeah.
which I don't even know. I'm pretty sure that was a kind of one and done run for only a couple years, because of how it came to be. So I don't think they're cranking out Tornado. Well, maybe I don't know. I thought that was just like a one and done, because it was a very specific set of barrels.
Hmm.
But I know at one point it was out there, and there's probably still some floating around that are, probably highly priced. But yeah, the A.H. Taylor line's a good one. It is a little bit more difficult to find even here in the U.S., even though it's made here. It's one of my favorites. It's delicious. It's a Buffalo Trace bourbon. I drink a lot of the stuff from Buffalo Trace, but I don't only drink Buffalo Trace, so don't get the wrong idea. I'm not one of those guys. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I know in the bourbon community, there's like, oh, you only drink Buffalo Trace. You don't like. They do. They make a lot of cool stuff, and people get wrapped up in it. And
They
I
do.
get it. I get it. But it's good. I enjoy it.
They have a
Um,
strong, diverse profile that you can, if you like almost anything along the range of whiskeys, they have something for you, right? All the way from weeded to ryes to just, you know, like you were saying about Blanton's. Blanton's like isn't amazing, but it's also like, in my opinion, probably the most quintessential bourbon flavor profile and is so balanced. And
yeah,
I think that's what people get wowed by is the fact that like you drink it and it's like this is bourbon and it's very approachable for what it is as well, but great balanced flavor profile.
yeah, 100%. I've heard the name Bland Tins thrown
Mm,
around by some people who like to, throw shade at it, which hey, to each his own.
yeah, we all
Um,
like different stuff,
but
man.
I think in their defense, I think there's a little bit of that stigma on it because, like you said, I mean, it's quintessential, it's
Yeah,
balanced, but it's not overtly crazy. It's not
yeah,
overly
exactly.
complex, and so it's kind of a basic drinker, but it's also, in my opinion, if I owned a bar, it'd be a staple.
Oh, it's delicious.
I mean, when
Like,
you look at all the other bourbons that are difficult to grab from Buffalo Trace, it's probably the easiest to acquire,
yeah,
at least in my experience. So it's like you have a solid Buffalo Trace bourbon, a classic bourbon that's been around a long time before everyone knew about it.
yep,
That's a good one to have, and like I said, on the easier side to obtain.
definitely. I've kind of had a few sips. I'd say so. I kind of like I said before. You could try puffing on the cigar and taking a sip of your drink and seeing what that does to your drink. For me, the drink morphed a little bit, and the sherry note, because I think a lot of these red rests are finished in sherry, or they
I
might be aged in
believe
sherry.
I believe it is
Matured in a
sherry.
combination of bourbon, American oak barrels, and Oloroso sherry, seasoned by Spanish oak butts. So yeah, there is a sherry, but that sherry note really comes out after puffing on the cigar. That real nice kind of fruity, aromatic sherry really comes out. So again, in my opinion, great pairing, both elevating the experience of the drink and the cigar. And I would suggest people to try it out,
Now,
especially if you haven't tried Irish whiskey.
Now, one of the things I will say, what's interesting about whiskey is, we obviously this is a cigar show. We talk about tobacco and how it's fermented and all of that. The whiskey world, and specifically, in each category, you have bourbons, you have scotches, you have Irish whiskey, you have Tennessee whiskey. Now you have Japanese whiskey, which is a whole other thing now. But between all the subvariants, so American-made, Kentucky bourbon. I mean, I know there's bourbons outside of Kentucky, obviously, but for the most part, you look at that classic Kentucky bourbon. I don't know if people are aware, but there are some rules and stipulations, I guess, that go into effect, so to speak, when labeling and advertising certain things, and to classify something as a Kentucky bourbon, it has to have a mash bill of at least 51% corn. And bourbon is also almost always aged in new American white oak barrels. Now, what's interesting is that a lot of Irish whiskey and Scotch whiskey distilleries use those barrels. So Americans will put their bourbon in it, they use it once, they're done. The next batch is going into a brand new barrel again. Now, those barrels aren't necessarily bad. They're still usable. You can't use a barrel forever, but you can be used more than once. And so a lot of times those barrels will go to places like, I don't know, Nick Perdomo to use for aging tobacco inside the barrel. Or a lot of times they'll go to Irish whiskey distilleries, Scotch whiskey distilleries, even some wineries. I've come across some wines that were, aged in their original barrels, and then they were dumped into bourbon barrels for a short period of time. And the wine was actually really interesting. Had that same classic, the ones I've had are all reds, but had a really nice subtle tone to it, but also had that nice, just a little like prick of a kick right at the end that you get obviously from that whiskey barrel. And it's not something I would drink regularly, like all the time, but it was a nice once in a while. It's kind of a nice little different treat, so to speak. It's fun, it's different, but yeah. So all these barrels end up being reused, and we hear about sherry casks all the time. You have port finish, with port wine barrels. Bourbon barrels get reused. Now the only other thing. Tennessee whiskey, I'm not too familiar on in terms of the barreling process, or if those barrels are different. I think they reuse their barrels for Tennessee whiskey.
I think Tennessee whiskey still has to follow a lot of the same rules that Kentucky whiskey does, which is, like you mentioned, the mash bills, as well as like the fact that it has to be new American oak.
Yeah.
But if I'm pretty sure the main distinguishing factor is the filtration process. So to be considered Tennessee, you have to go through that special, like that one that Jack Daniels
uses the triple charcoal sugar maple filtering. That's what they use.
Yeah.
That's like, I don't know if they all do that, but I know that that's Jack Daniels, like one of their signature things that they do. That it's right on the bottle too. If you look at the bottle, I think it's like on the side, it'll say sugar maple charcoal, filtered, which I know is a big deal. But again, I don't know if they all, because the George Dickel makes Tennessee whiskey. I don't know if they do the same exact process, but
yeah, I think they, when they came out with the definition, I think to define themselves differently than Kentucky, they brought in the fact that you have to do the maple charcoal, or what they call the Lincoln County process.
Well, Mike's saying charcoal triple filtered, which I think in a general sense I think is true. I think just certain distilleries use different kinds of charcoal, or
maybe.
whatever. But yeah, because I know like Jack Daniels is always sugar maple is. I remember that's like the one they use, but I don't know if they all probably do something different, but I think that on the basic level, charcoal triple filtering is, I believe, a big part of that.
Now, you mentioned Jack Daniels and you don't really approach Jack Daniels. I don't know if you've ever had the higher end Jack Daniels offerings, like some of their single barrels, some of their barrel proof, or even their single barrel proof offerings.
I have had
Those
the
are
single barrel, which is pretty good.
those are actually really good.
I know
Some
they
of
just
their
came out. Didn't they just come out with the Jack Daniels 10?
I don't know.
I think there was a Jack Daniels 10 that came out, and it was not like a lot of them, but pretty sure
10-year-old
within the
Tennessee
last
whiskey.
within the last like 9 months, I think I saw, because I belong to a lot of whiskey groups on Facebook, from my area, and people
Yeah.
post when different stores get different things in, and I believe it was a little while ago, maybe the beginning of the year, maybe holidays, I started seeing people posting about this Jack Daniels 10. It was in that same square bottle, but a very different label. Um, Actually, I think it was a different bottle. It was a square bottle, but it wasn't the same. I don't even know how to describe it. I don't even have it in front of me. But I know that the single barrel, comes in that square bottle. This was a square bottle, but it was a little different, a little more rounded looking, and I believe it was 10 years.
Yeah. It's been 100 years since they've released a 10-year age dated whiskey, and yeah, they released a Jack Daniels 10.
And Peter says, yeah, there was a 10, and last year, now they released the 12. So now there's a 12, which I wasn't aware of.
There you go.
So, yeah, seeing Jack Daniels kind of doing a little bit more and more now. I don't know if maybe all the hype with bourbon is catching up to some of the other formats of whiskey out there too, because obviously, bourbon's been hot ever since, I don't know, at least the last 7 years, if not longer.
Yeah, I was gonna say 10 years maybe.
Yeah, maybe even
Start.
10. Maybe even 10. I mean, there was a point where you could go into a liquor store, and most of the stuff that you see people, going nuts over, used to just sit on the shelf like Johnny Walker. You could get it whenever you
Yeah.
wanted. It was there. And then, over time, which a lot of it, I think, from what I understand, a lot of it kind of goes back to Anthony Bourdain, because the thing that I heard was he was one of the first people to like go on TV and really highlight bourbon, and especially like Pappy and all that other stuff. And that's kind of why it got so popular. It kind of like started this like this fad, so to speak. And then it just kind of kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then, now to the point all the distilleries are, they're outworked. And I know Buffalo Trace has expanded their facility. I'm pretty sure Wild Turkey has expanded their facilities just to keep up with the demand, because they can't distill whiskey fast enough. And then you got to age it. So it's not like you can just pump it out and go. I mean, you got to make it and then sit on it and then see where the barrels go. I mean, I know that there's been some special releases over the years that, have come out that were actually not offered that particular year, because that year's batch just didn't live up to the standard, so it was skipped. So it's again, it's not an easy process. And when you have a demand like that, it's a lot of years in the making. It's just like cigars. I mean, more than cigars probably, because I mean, cigars take some time from when you like really plan it all out. But I mean, some of these whiskeys, I mean, they sit for 15 years, 18 years, 20 years. I mean, that's a long
Yep.
time. That's a long time to wait, so to speak, right? So
Now, I've been kind of sipping on like I said, this Fentiman's Curiosity Cola. Um, I like sugary drinks paired with cigars, but I wouldn't say it's as great of an overall experience as most of the time with whiskey. I find most sugary drinks tend to, well, they're just so sweet that sweetness clings to the palate. Um, but it is still nice. I wouldn't say it elevates the cigar beyond maybe what like the whiskey did, but it's always nice to have, in my opinion. For me, I get a bit more. It kind of brings out some of the sweetness of the cigar. It kind of brings out a bit of that caramelly, like burnt caramel. Uh, some people call it caramel. I don't know. And
tomato, potato,
yeah, exactly.
robusto,
But
robusto.
Robusto. But yeah,
Where's
it's
Garrett
a
Robinson when you need him?
it's a decent pairing. Wouldn't say amazing, but again, I always try to have a sugary drink just to kind of get me through the night and cleanse the palate a bit.
Well, sugar's good too. I mean, when you're especially when you're smoking a lot of cigars,
Uh-huh.
and you get overstimulated on the nicotine. The sugar helps kind of combat it and
Exactly.
balance it out. So, I mean, there are times and places where a sugary drink is a great idea when you're smoking cigars, depending on how many you've smoked or what you're smoking, how strong that cigar is. Maybe you're not used to it. Maybe you're dehydrated, whatever. And that nicotine just gets to you, and it becomes too much for you. You get dizziness, you get a headache, you get whatever. Sometimes you get sick to your stomach a little bit, um, all sorts of things, and the sugar will help. And that's one of the old tricks that we've said probably hundreds of times on the shows over the years. Hey, a little bit of sugar. You keep a little bit of sugar on you, or if you're out and about, you get something sugary, and it'll kind of
Yep.
help fight that down. And it works. It really does. It's not like one of those
It
old
really
wives' tales.
does.
I mean, it does. So, um, it's definitely a good instance for a sugary drink.
So, I'm gonna crack open. The first one I'm doing is a chocolate called Manoa chocolate with Paikai sea salt. It's 72% dark chocolate with Hawaiian sea salt.
And I
Beautiful
and I just poured
package.
out a little sampling here of the E.H. Taylor. I'm just gonna let that
Um,
breathe for a second.
let's see. Do they say? I don't know if this is actually Hawaiian chocolate itself, like chocolate
Or is it just
bean,
the
cacao
Hawaiian
bean.
sea salt?
But I think it's definitely Hawaiian sea salt. But I don't know where they're sourcing the bean from. It might be a. Sometimes they say here.
You gotta read the fine print. It's usually in the fine print. They'll tell you.
Yeah,
I don't
it
know.
just says
You guys have
cocoa butter.
different rules up there in Canada. So who knows? Maybe they don't
We
disclose
do.
stuff. I don't know.
But yeah, so this is 72% chocolate. Again, I'm not a huge chocolate fan, but I do enjoy the pairing of chocolate and cigars. Again, because it's got some of those richer, earthy notes. And it's kind of cool. Like, many people really, really love coffee and cigars.
Oh,
It's
so I
cool
guess
kind of having that terroir.
this is not a good time to tell you that I booked us a chocolate fondue reservation for next week. Just I guess you'll have to skip that one. We'll have to say, hey, Mitchell can't come. He doesn't
Well, if
want
they got a
chocolate.
cheese, if they got a cheese option, I'll do
No,
that.
it's just chocolate. There's no cheese. It's not like melting pot. It's just chocolate. And
Mm,
it's overly sweet chocolate. I don't know. It might not be for you.
we'll see.
I don't know. Um, but seriously, melting pot is good. I like that. You get the
Yeah.
cheese, you get the broth. I know everybody's not crazy about the broth part. It's not really fondue, but whatever. It's part of the experience. And then you finish off with the chocolate fondue, and it's great. And they'll even bring you little pieces of cheesecake that you can put in there, and that is a great way to feel awesome and fat at the same time. But again, if you do it right, you won't hate yourself too much. You'll be more happy with what you ate. Um, I'm due to go back there though. I
Yep.
gotta tell Nicole we have to go back there.
Matt, have you explored dark chocolate or single origin chocolate, like kind of the craft world of chocolate before? Like
Ooh,
obviously, I'm
that's
sure
good.
you have the standard chocolates and milk chocolates and stuff like that. But have you explored kind of these like 70+% craft single origin chocolate bars before?
No, because I'm not really into dark chocolates at all. Um, I mostly eat milk chocolates, and even then, like I don't eat. Um, I'm very picky. Like I won't
Yeah.
eat Hershey's. Like to me, here in the United States, the Hershey's chocolate. I don't know if you guys get our chocolate or whatever, but the Hershey's chocolate that we have here, I hate it. It I do. And maybe it's because I've had so many like European chocolates. Like I've had Swiss chocolates, British chocolates,
Yeah.
Belgian chocolates, Swiss chocolates, German chocolates, and they're all very delicious. But yeah. I mean, when I was a little kid, I didn't know better. But then as I got older, and you know, it's disgusting. I mean, to me, it's like it leaves the same aftertaste in your mouth as when you throw up. It's to me that's like what it tastes like. It's gross. I can't eat it. It's gross. But Nicole likes dark chocolate, and I know Nicole will. I'm pretty sure she's experimented with some of
Yeah, my
those because I'm
my
pretty
wife
sure
loves dark chocolate.
I'm pretty sure there's been a few times where she's gotten like you know how Lint has like the bars that come in like the
Yep.
cardboard sleeve, and some of those I know that like they have 70s and like 75%. I'm pretty sure she's dabbled with some of those ones before because I know she has had those before, um, and I know she does, but I it's just really not for me. It's not my thing.
So again, I'm not a huge chocolate fan either way, whether it's milk or whatever. Like I'll eat it occasionally, and it's like okay, but I like other kind of desserts better. These kind of chocolates, even if you've had the dark Lindt chocolate, it's really, I would say, these smaller kind of boutique chocolate brands, like I said, where they're doing single origin things. The flavors you get from these, it's crazy. Like you almost get this like natural fruitiness that you're like, how the heck am I tasting this in a chocolate? Or just this natural nuttiness? Because again, it's just cocoa butter and cacao powder and sometimes a bit of sugar. This obviously has salt. The salt brings out a lot of the sweetness on this, and I get a bit of like fig sweetness and some of that dark chocolate bitterness
Hmm.
on this. And yeah, they're really good. Again, I wouldn't go back to it all the time, but the problem I have with a lot of dark chocolate is it leaves your palate very bitter tasting after. That's
Yeah. Yeah, it lingers. It almost
yeah,
like
it
it
really
kind of
lingers.
it takes over your palate and then it dominates everything after that.
Yeah,
That's why like I don't like to eat. Like I know people who like will sit down and have a whole meal and like smoke a cigar
yeah.
and I can't. Like I don't even when I like even with alcohol. Like I don't like when I eat and like then when I'm done, I do other things. Like I don't like except for like, wine with certain things. That's too different. But like I know people who will drink cocktails and like eat foods and I'm like I don't know. I don't like it. I like to like I from my palate. I feel like the two cross too much, and it's never really. I don't know. I like to
With food, yeah.
I like to keep them separated. And so like for me, like I don't really pair cigars with any kind of food. Um, Chocolates and stuff, I could see that, but foods and as a general rule, like it's just not for me. Alcohol, water, wine, whiskey, whatever, any kind of, beverage. Yeah, I've had some awesome pairings, but food for me has been one that I'm weird about. I don't know. I've just never found a good food and cigar pairing.
Hmm.
Which is like, I don't know. I guess that's what makes me weird.
No, it's. I would say most people don't tend to pair food with cigars, but yeah, it is a delicate process because definitely it can really overpower the palate. In terms of what I'm getting off of, I don't know. I'm getting a really interesting new note that I can't really put my finger on. Maybe floral, a floral note from the cigar now that is coming from the chocolate. I don't know if it's the salt or the bitterness that is changing the profile, but it's still got that nice woodiness, a bit of that leather in there, but it's got this really interesting floral note that the chocolate's brought out of the cigar.
Yeah, I have the E.H. Taylor small batch in my glass now. I had a sip before. Very different from the Smoke Wagon. This actually, while it's higher in proof, definitely seems smoother and creamier than the 92. This is 100. The sorry, how did I just blank?
Smoke
The
wagon.
Smoke Wagon was the 92.5. But the 100 proof E.H. Taylor, creamier, smoother, much sweeter than that small batch. So I have another sip here, and then I'm going to move on to the Blanton's Gold, which I expect to be entirely different than the first two.
Yeah.
Ooh, more honey on this
Would,
one too.
would you say
A
your
lot of
first
honey.
pairing? Would you say it enhanced the cigar in any way, or did it mute too many notes? Did it increase any notes, or was it just like, oh, this is the same cigar as it was
I
previously?
think the Smoke Wagon took over my palate more.
Yeah.
Not not too not probably definitely not in the same way like the dark chocolate took over yours, but um, enough where I think it kind of drowned out the cigar a little bit. The E.H. Taylor so far has been a little bit more balanced and really complements the tobacco a little bit better than the Smoke Wagon.
Nice.
Which is why I
Now
picked
this
a cigar. I didn't want to pick a cigar that was, I mean, I wouldn't say this is a super mild cigar, but it's on the lighter side in terms of its flavor and complexity. It's not too overpowering. Earthy, a little salty, but nothing dark, nothing deep, not too peppery at all. So, because I wanted to kind of have something that was a little more of a baseline, but that so far it's worked, and it's worked better with the H. Taylor. I'm gonna actually put this one out of the way over here.
I love pairing H. Taylor with cigars. Awesome pairing.
Now, are there any cigars in particular that you do like to smoke with it?
In terms of E.H. Taylor?
Yeah. Or have you
So
not really...
far, I've never had anything bad with it. I've even gone down to a Connecticut. Mind you, it was a Nicaraguan filler Connecticut, so it wasn't like a Dominican lighter. It still had some body and depth to it. I'd say overall, I tend to lean when I am smoking like for my own pleasure towards Nicaraguan. So I've had broadleaf, I've had Habano wrappers, I've had Connecticut, and they all go really well. They all go really, really well with E.H. Taylor because, like you said, it's kind of that middle of the run. You get a bit more of that smoothness even with that 100 proof, but it carries on the palate. It's got that nice kind of honey sweetness, that charry, oaky background, a bit of a hint of banana, like you mentioned. So
Oh, the banana, yeah, 100%.
yeah, that
It's
hint
like
of
my
banana.
favorite part of it.
Yeah. So
now I got this Blanton's Gold poured out, much stronger on the nose, much more fumy.
yeah,
But again, this was how high? Where is it?
it's probably around 100.
It was over 100.
Oh.
I just saw it. What the hell? Come on. It's hard to read this damn bottle because it's well, like the label, because like it's like it's all just printed
it's
on
so
the glass.
dark.
It's not like the regular
Can't read.
Blanton's bottles where they have like the
Yeah.
paper label.
So my next chocolate.
bottled at 103. 103.
Oh, there you go. Just past 100.
Yeah, but it's amazing. It's amazing how while it's not that much, how it's so different. You know what I mean? And then
Yep.
I've had people tell me like that they've experienced where once they go. General rule of thumb, once you go over 100, it changes. But then I've had people go as far as say, like, for example, Weller 107, the old antique 107. I've heard people say, once you go past that, it almost becomes too hot, and you can't really enjoy the solid flavor in whiskey. Which I disagree, because I've had some pretty hot whiskeys where it wasn't drowned out. You could still really enjoy the flavor of the mash without actually just being over fumy, over alcohol taste to it that just like burns it away. But it definitely changes dramatically. Versus, and it's funny because we started off with the lightest one at 92, and then we went up to 100, and even that 7.5%, percent difference, is interesting, and it was actually smoother. Now I'm going to 103, which on the nose is way stronger than the first two, but I'm excited to see how it actually tastes on the palate, which I'm going to get my cigar kind of puffed up again.
So my next chocolate here is called the Mestizo. It's made in Toowoomba. I think that's in Australia.
That's fine.
Yeah,
to
Australia.
Say. Toowoomba.
Toowoomba. But this is a chocolate that is made from a farm, a bean made from a farm in Tanaru region of Honiara in the Solomon Islands. Again, that's just off of Australia, the coast of Australia. And they ferment this in as a sun-dried fermentation. So it's like fermented outside in the sun, kind of like dried.
Interesting.
So, yeah. And it's a 62%.
Isn't that what Zaya from El Septimo said that they do with their cigars? They age them outside in the sun?
I think so. Something like that.
Didn't he say some shit like that? I'm almost positive that's what he said. They age them out outside.
Yeah, we'll see how this chocolate does with the cigar.
I'm going to take this sip down.
Ooh.
Wow. Okay. That was smooth like water. And we lost Mitchell. Oh, thanks, buddy. Just leave me here by myself. Oh, now he calls back. All right, let's see what his excuse is. Oh, my laptop died. Yeah. Should we leave him in the green room? I don't know. I can't really do this by myself. You know, you're lucky I'm up here by myself, because if it was anybody else, I would have left you in the green room.
I don't know what
Abandoned.
happened. Lost internet there.
Excuses, excuses. Anyway, like I was saying.
Yeah. So this this has a way different flavor profile. Like that last one was a lot more fruity, but with a really, really rich bitterness at the background. This is almost nuttier and woodier, but much, much less bitterness. Maybe it's the fact that it's 62% versus 72%. Yeah, with the cigar, I'd say this chocolate pairs much better with the cigar. It doesn't overwhelm the palate with so much bitterness.
Yeah.
And yeah, ooh, it really brings out this nice toasted note from the cigar. Really, really good.
Have you had Blanton's Gold? I can't remember.
I've had standard Blantons, but never the gold.
Okay.
I have a bottle of the regular Blantons, so
I should get some. You know what I should do? Because I have a lot of whiskeys as well. I should get some of the little glass vials.
Yep.
And I should bring some samples for you. So I have some good shit.
Yeah, I don't know what the law is in terms of flying.
Oh no, you're gonna
over?
drink. You're gonna drink them there.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
gonna bring
There you
that
go.
many. It's gonna be small. You know, you're gonna drink them there.
Yeah, I'm down, dude. I love whiskey. Like I said,
And it's free.
so
It's less alcohol you gotta buy later at the bar.
true. Yeah, bring whatever you want over. I am.
But
into
no,
that.
this actually was the smoothest. Highest in proof, smoothest. I mean, this went down like water. I mean, it was just not a lot of gas to it.
Yeah.
Sweet. Also sweet. It's been a long time since I've actually had this. This bottle's been sitting in the liquor bunker, as we call it, for a little while. And it's funny, the nose is
Attacked by bees here.
It was very. Are you getting it? What? What's
Getting
going on?
attacked by bees here.
Oh God, do we have to stop the show now for this? You gonna be okay? It's just a bee.
I think I'll survive.
Yeah, I think you will too.
It wants a sip of my whiskey.
Do you remember that time when you told me not to give you any cigars when I shipped you some stuff, and then I did anyway, and you still got across the border?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You're gonna be all right.
I'll be okay.
No, but this is really good. And then on the nose, I noticed when I first poured this, it was. I mean, I know it's obviously the air's been getting to it too, but right out of the bottle, very gassy, especially compared to the first two right out of the bottle. And now, much less, and it's actually more of a sweet aroma. Much more, actually, even more than the E.H. Taylor. I always consider the E.H. Taylor to have a super sweet aroma. This is even better.
Mm.
This is really delicious. Now, do you still have the Redbreast?
Yeah, I still have some, but the bee is having a sip, so
Oh, so you're not going to drink out of it?
not at this singular moment. Once he's done getting
Let him do
getting
his
drunk.
thing. Well, what I was going to say was, so later this year, sorry, I have a bad habit of talking with a cigar in my mouth, but so later this year, we have a couple of pairing episodes that we're going to be doing with Michael Capolini of Toscano. We have one coming up right after the trade show, and then we have another one I want to say in October, end of October maybe. One of which we're going to do a wine episode. So the three of us are Italian. I told him, hey, we got to do a red wine, Italian wines, whatever.
Yep.
We haven't really picked the wines, but we're going to do a wine, and we're all going to have the same stuff, more or less. And then another one, I think we're doing cocktails. Or maybe coffee. I can't remember. But Michael's been on the show before, and we've done, I think, 2 pairing episodes with him, which is something he does a lot of. And one of the things he brought up, and I saw someone said it in the comments here, but one of the things he did with us, he did a whole pairing episode with us. Where we were making all the same cocktails, and he had us drink them and then add the smoke to the glass, and just hold
Yes.
your hand over, let the smoke just permeate in the glass with all of the liquid, and then release and then sip it. And I will tell you, most of those after I did that, the cocktail tasted way better. Especially the first one we did was like a Di Serono and bourbon with there was like one other thing in there, and we put it on ice, and it was really good. It was sweet, a little bit of a kick, great. And then we did the smoke to it, and I just remember like, holy shit! I'm like, this is amazing. Like I would just rather drink it like this all the time. It was really good. It really changed it. So I was gonna say, I don't know about the chocolate. You can't really do that, but I don't know if you were gonna do a smoked kind of thing with your whiskey, maybe with your soda that you had. I don't know if it'll really work out as well, but definitely
Yeah,
with
I'm
that
not sure.
redbreast, I was curious to see if you were gonna kind of circle back and try that out. Which I think I'm
Yeah,
gonna do that
I
right
can-
now.
I could try smoking it. I could try blowing some smoke in there and swishing it around. I find sometimes when I do that, the glass just then kind of gets smoke tainted smell, and I can't nose the whiskey as much, which I really love nosing whiskey. And but it does have a nice effect to the flavor.
See, I have it right here in my glass. Kind of give the whiskey a little swirl, really like get it around in there.
Yeah.
And I'll let it sit.
Now this last chocolate I have, I honestly the label is fell off of it, so all I know is it's from this chocolatier named Askinosi. I think this is the 100% chocolate. So this is a non-sugar, 100% cocoa, and just sweetened with butter. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Hopefully not too bitter, but and that's Askinosi chocolate.
This is nice. I got that smoke layer just like still.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Just hanging in the glass. I feel like the camera doesn't do it justice. It's way thicker and cloudier, and
That's cool.
yeah, and it's just kind of lingering there.
Yep.
Let's take a sip on this and see. Oh, there it goes. Get it out of the way. Ooh,
The only problem coming to the nub of my cigar.
I know, right? Oh, I got a lot more.
I should have grabbed a Churchill like you.
Mistakes. Oh, hey, you know what we should do? It's time for our new segment, brought to you by McAuliffe Cigars. Sorry, I had to bring up the list of all the stuff. Okay. Our news is once again brought to you by McAuliffe Cigars, featuring the new McAuliffe Black, rated 91 by our very own Kevin on SmokinTabacco.com. Check it out now. It's a blackout. So, as I said at the beginning of the show, there's been a lot of announcements. It is that time of the year, you know. I'll run through a couple. Instead of kind of doing like one thing, we'll kind of read off some of the highlights from the week. Cavalier is going to be bringing another limited edition for 2023 to the trade show. They've done this the last 2 years, I think. I want to say. I think this is the third one that they've done, the limited edition. Blackwork Studio is bringing some new stuff, as well as adding some sizes to the Killer Bee and the Hornet. They're also bringing the Poison. I think it's the Poison Dart to PCA. As I mentioned before, Founder Cigar Co. has moved factories and updated its packaging, which you should check out because the boxes look amazing. Miami Cigar to release a limited edition cigar for Nesta Miranda's 80th birthday. It's a limited edition NM80 to commemorate Nestor's 80th birthday, and I believe they're also going to be doing some kind of celebration in the booth. One of the days, I want to say. I think they're doing something, or maybe outside the show. I know I heard something about it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but Miami Cigar is doing some kind of special thing outside of just a cigar. They're doing some kind of event during the trade show for that. Espinosa, I'm sure you saw this one. Espinosa announced that they were bringing a knuckle sandwich. Is it pronounced prefix? I believe it's prefix sampler.
I think so, yeah.
Which
It's probably
has,
a French enunciation like préfet or something like that.
yeah. But they're bringing a sampler with 3 of each of the current knuckle sandwich cigars in the core line to the trade show, and that is not a trade show release. And Luciano is going to make the Maria Lucia a core line and added, I want to say, 3 more sizes to it. So there's 4 sizes total, and that will become a core line. That was limited, that was first shown last year at the trade show that I smoked. I don't know, did you smoke that, Maria
Nope,
Lucia?
I've not tried the Maria Lucia or the Mas Ignis that was released last year.
Okay. I definitely have more of the Maria Lucia, so I will definitely bring those to the trade show for you, because I think I have. Oh, look at that! Starting to downpour. It's crazy how that happens. I will bring some of those to the trade show for you. Don't let me forget. But yeah, that's going to be now a core line. So a lot of exciting stuff. Again, most of this is pre-CA release stuff. I think a lot of this we covered last week, I want to say. Casada is going to launch in Oktoberfest 2023 at the trade show. Pastaña is bringing their Connecticut blend to PCA 2023. Oh, Foundation. I forgot. Foundation. So Nick Melillo is also bringing some new lines to the trade show. One of which is the Metapa, which I think we talked about this on Spare Notes on Saturday. A homage
Yes.
to Nicaragua's Ruben Dario, who I believe is a Nicaraguan poet, if I remember correctly. And so that's going to be at the trade show, as well as he is bringing some new stuff with Charter Oak to the trade show. So we're excited to get over to that booth. Actually, I think you guys are covering that booth, so I'll swing through, but I think you guys will be doing the interview, so it'll be exciting to kind of hear what Nick has to say in that one.
Yes, definitely excited to talk to Nick.
You seem so excited right now.
Sorry, I'm focused on toasting the cigar.
I was gonna say you're very like tuned into something, but I can't see. Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah, thank you. You just look like you're just like not interested.
Sometimes you can hear the flame and then it's like, oh, he's doing something. But
Shots fired back. All right, I like that. See, this is why I love Mitchell, because I can make jabs at Mitchell and have fun with him, and he can take it. He doesn't get all butthurt about
oh
it.
yeah,
Like some people, no names mentioned, teaser free, rumor free. God, if I have to hear about Junior's cheesecake one more time, I swear to Christ. Just like, I get it. I didn't know. It'd be, you know what? The thing is, so Coop posted his bagel sandwich that he had down in Miami, and I just, because I was in the mood to take a stab at him, because he would do it to me. I said, "Oh, it's not H&H bagels," and he's like, "It's not about the bagel. It's about the whole thing." I'm like, you know, how is it that he always gets away? I let him get away with it. I could have pushed harder, and I didn't because I was just too busy. But I like having fun with him. But anyway, so you're on cigar number 2. I'm still on cigar number 1.
this is beautiful. So yeah,
Which
this other
hasn't changed
chocolate.
much either. My cigar hasn't really changed too much either. It's been very consistent all the way through. Profile has stayed the same. Flavor has more or less stayed the same. It's a little drier. I don't know why, but it's just got more of a drier, I don't know, feel to it.
Yeah, getting through it.
Not as enjoyable. I mean, not, I'll finish the cigar, but I mean, it's just not a very enjoyable state of this cigar. I thought it was worth mentioning. But yeah, no, I did this. I did my smoked Blanton's Gold, and
Yeah, I don't know if you saw
we're
me,
running
I
out of
smoked-
time, but I don't want to go back. But if we had more time, I'd go back and I would do kind of the same with the other two. But man, it really changed this too. It's really good.
It almost turns it into like a peated
Ooh.
whiskey, right? Like it's like it definitely added that toasty smokiness to.
Did you smoke out your Redbreast?
I did it while you were reading all the stuff, all the releases. So
Mm.
like I said, it really takes over, like, from the glass. It takes over the nose. It is quite the glass becomes quite smoky, but on the palate, it definitely adds that smoky depth to it. It is really nice.
Yeah, no, it really, I think it's nice in a straight, whiskey or any kind of liquor. But in a cocktail, when you have multiple things mixed together, especially when it's cold, which I think is another big part of it too. When you have a cold drink, right? Like these are just neat room temperature, they're warm. But when you have a drink that's cold with all the ice in there, I believe, when the warm smoke comes in, you get that cool liquid. I believe it's more of an enhancement with a cocktail, in my opinion, just on the ones that I've done it with versus just doing it with something straight. Changes both, but definitely more of a change with the cocktails. I feel like it marries a little bit more than with just like the straight whiskey. So, but still very enjoyable.
Yeah.
And if you're into that kind of thing, I highly recommend trying that out. If you have never done it before, you've never heard of it, next time you're sitting out there with anything, just get some smoke in there, give it a good seal, hold it in there. Don't let the smoke escape for like a few minutes, and then just let it release and take a sip, and it'll be completely different. And you might like it, you might not, but that's kind of the fun of it. You just kind of experiment with different things. So anyway,
yeah, the third chocolate I had, again, I'm pretty sure that was 100% with just cocoa butter and cocoa powder. It was so buttery. It was so buttery smooth and delicious.
would you say your favorite of the three?
Yeah, the last two were very similar in terms of how well I enjoyed them. They were definitely different flavor profiles. I don't really like chocolates that have high acidity, and that first one is quite an acidic chocolate. Like I said, with that bitterness,
Right.
that background acidity, the fruity flavor profile.
It's a very dominating flavor.
Yeah, but yeah, and then I had the last few puffs of my Tabernacle, and it went really well with the cigar. It wasn't overpowering. It was really good. And this 601 green that I just lit up.
That should be the Oscuro, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Oscuro.
Yep.
Really good. Really good.
Have you had that Oscuro before? I know
Mm,
you've had 601s, but I didn't know if you've had that one before.
I've not had the green Oscuro.
That's a good one. That's probably one of my favorites in the 601 line.
Yeah, it's a good cigar. Real good cigar.
Very delicious. I know your favorite is the La Oranja. Which one? The orange
Kagsa?
one. Yes. I know that's your
Yeah.
favorite. You're gonna have to grab some of those when you come down here.
Yep.
Yeah,
I will.
There's definitely gonna be a lot of shopping that goes on, at least for you. Well, it's a good timing too, because Nevada's setting their 50-cent tobacco tax or premium cigar tax cap, I should say.
Hopefully
July 1.
again, I don't know how long it takes for maybe B&Ms to show that price difference, and who
Yeah,
knows,
it's
like, hopefully all of them will pass that savings on to the consumer relatively quickly. But yeah,
No, it would be nice. It'll be nice. I know Kevin's stoked. I mean, he lives in Nevada, so it's a big deal for him. I'm fortunate enough to live close enough to New Hampshire where I don't have really that issue, because I go up there where there's 0 tobacco tax and 0 sales tax. So, yay. I'm spoiled, but I'm very thankful for it. So that'll be exciting. Before we kind of wrap up the show, I know we kind of did our pairing thing tonight, which was nice. It was definitely a nice change of pace, and I'll be honest with you, it was more laid back. Didn't have to,
more chill.
it's nice to have these shows every once in a while because there's so much going on outside of the show and other things that we do that it's nice to just have a show where you can just kind of go in and just kind of chill a little bit and do something a little different and actually just fucking drink for the sake of drinking. You know what I mean? Kind of just take the edge off. No, this was good. Next week we have Lito Gomez Jr. coming on with us, so that'll be exciting. He wants to talk about his Solus or Soli. I have to find out exactly how you say it, but I've heard it pronounced both ways. From La Flor Dominicana, that was a highlight at the show last year. So far, I don't think LFD has announced that they're bringing anything new or different to the trade show. Could be one of those things that's a surprise. I know they don't do a lot of press announcements, so I guess time will tell. But I'd probably say that there's probably nothing new coming. So that's really the newest cigar that they have right now. So we'll be smoking that and talking to him about, getting into blending and working with his dad and his brother, which is exciting. Two legends in the family to learn from. So a lot of great questions to ask him. He's younger. He's not been on a lot of shows. So I think he's a little bit nervous. He's already texted me several times about it, but I told him just relax. It'll be fine. Question is, does John come on with him? I don't know.
Yes.
I'm going to say John's probably a no. I don't know when he goes to Vegas. I don't know if he goes Thursday or if he goes Wednesday. I don't know if he has to be there for setup all of those days. So I don't know when he gets in there. So it'll be...
Yeah, he's probably setting up on Wednesday.
Yeah, I
Maybe
can
not.
ask him. Well, because Junior's not going to Vegas until Thursday.
I was gonna say, will Junior be there? And
Mm-mm.
I guess he'll be leaving the next day. So there you go.
I'm pretty sure he's going Thursday. Because we talked about it because I was like, oh, shit, like that Wednesday that week, we can do a show because you and I haven't traveled yet. And I'm pretty sure I don't think he goes till like Thursday. So I think because we booked that. So I think he's gonna be down in Miami. So that'll be good. That's our show for next week. I don't think we talked about possibly doing another spare notes this weekend. At this point in the week, I don't think we're gonna do that. I think we're gonna wait till after the show. So we got one more show before the trade show. And then the following Wednesday after that is our wrap-up show, which will take place after the trade show. We'll all be on here to talk about that, and hopefully, it'd be nice if we got Kevin on. But I know with the time difference, he can't really get on at that time. So hopefully, I don't know.
Maybe
see.
he took it off work already.
Maybe, and
Maybe
or
he was
maybe I can start it later. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll have to chat with him. We'll see if maybe if I push it an hour, maybe he can get home in time. That would be cool. But we'll see. That's kind of our plan for the next few weeks in terms of shows. Next week is PCA. Our coverage begins next Friday, when the festivities sort of begin. You get the seminars, you have the some of the meetings that take place, and then Saturday morning, that's it. We're on the trade show floor. So very exciting time, very busy time, a lot going on, a lot to do, but we'll power through it. And excited to have this guy with me for the first time. It's going to be an experience to watch him do his first few interviews and be all super nervous because he's by himself and he doesn't have me there to talk him out of it. So you're up, kid.
Yep.
That's what I like to say. You'll have Kevin with you. Kevin will be your cheerleader. You'll be all right.
Yes. Kevin's good people.
Although I feel like Kevin's a little nervous too. So at least you guys will have that. You guys will be, maybe into that. So. But,
maybe a couple of morning shots of whiskey will help us get through the day.
Listen, whatever you need to get through the day, by all means. Although there is a no cannabis ordinance at the trade show, so you probably can't have that. But I believe the alcohol section was like, well, just don't be stupid. Don't be walking around with like a bottle or something. Have a few shots in your hotel room or maybe at the bar, and then throw some water on your face and head to the trade show floor. You'll be fine.
Exactly.
That's all you need. Because I know you
need.
You don't do coffee. Could we have this conversation? Because I order supplies for the guys to have, water and snacks, and I always order a bunch of energy drinks and shit to have. And I had this conversation with Mitchell, and I didn't realize this. He doesn't drink coffee or really any caffeine. So I don't know how you survive, but I mean.
So if I get less than 5 hours of sleep or 6 hours of sleep, I may indulge in some caffeinated beverage in the morning. But outside of that, I don't generally drink coffee. I do like it. I enjoy most coffee, but I just.
I'm gonna make a bet with you. and I'm going to do it here so it's on the record, that you get in Friday, so Friday you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Depending on how late we stay out Friday night, which is probably going to be late. Saturday you'll be okay because it's that first day. You'll shake it off. You'll be good. By Sunday morning, you're going to be like, we should head over to Starbucks before we go over there. I'm going to go, yeah.
I don't disagree. I expect I will consume
By
some form
Sunday
of
morning.
caffeinated beverage, whether it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or all the days. But yeah, I expect to need something because I want to have some fun at night.
As you should, because that's what we're
Exactly.
going to do.
Exactly.
But no, I'm willing to bet that by Sunday you're like, I need caffeine, please. And I'm gonna go, but I thought you don't drink caffeine, and I'm gonna try to hold it back from you as long as I can, But no, I'll be right there with you. So, but no, that's it. So that's really what we got going on. Thanks to everyone for listening and watching our show tonight. We really appreciate it. Whether you're following us on Facebook or YouTube, or if you're listening to us later on any of the numerous podcast apps that our show is available on. Don't forget to like and subscribe as always. We appreciate it. And you can head over to smokintabacco.com for more cigar industry news, cigar reviews, and our upcoming content coverage of PCA 2023 brought to you by Drew Estate, the rebirth of cigars. With that, we'll see you next week with Lito Gomez Jr. of La Flor Dominicana. Take care.